So tell me when you started working in the fire department.
Well, I was appointed in 1943, and I worked until 1968. I retired. I worked for the first 9 years that I was working in the fire department. I was appointed at Engine 11, 10th and South, which at that time was an all-black station. We weren't integrated back during those years like they are now, and I worked there 7 years. And the 7 years that I worked there 8 years, 8 years I think I worked there. And then I was inducted in the Army. Incidentally, I was the only black fireman in the city of Philadelphia that was drafted during the Second World War.
Huh.
And I went into service, and I got discharged in 1946. And at that time, we only had a 2-platoon system. And when I came back in 46, they had started a new system, a 3-platoon system. A, B, and C. We had the time that before I went in, we only had A and B. And we worked 72 hours a week. We only had 1 day off a week. We worked 72 hours a week. We got no overtime. And when we were assigned to a fire or responded to a fire, we stayed there until we didn't know exactly when we would be relieved and released and sent back to our stations. We stayed there. Sometimes we stayed there a whole day or more. And the time, the salary was $1,900 a year.
Hmm.
And hours were unlimited. We didn't have the equipment that they have today. Now, at that time, I was a driver, and back then, we only had 43 black firemen in the whole city. That was on the Fireboat and Engine 11. And we had, I think, about 20 or so at our station, or 10 or so on the Fireboat. There were 43 black firemen when I was appointed. And we had a good, compatible group. The guys were we helped one another a lot. In fact, a lot of the older timer fellows helped me. I was young and sort of irresponsible. I didn't care too much about any steady, thing at that time. And there was two fellows in particular that helped to steer me and helped to guide me and for me to stay in the fighting. That was Howard Fagans and Ed Johnson. And both of these men worked on the opposite platoon. They were on the B platoon, and I was on the A platoon. And one day, I just got mad. I particularly didn't care for the captain that we had. He was sort of a fellow that drove you a lot, and he always wanted his way. Whenever we had activities in the station, if we played cards or ping pong or this and that, and he lost, he would take it out on us, spite us, and give us exercise. Exercise was performing duties, in the station. Now, that was the exercise. And sometimes he would put you through strenuous exercise for hours, just getting even with you. So, one day after we were playing cards, and I told him, I said, Cap, I said, you lost, and why don't you just face it? Oh, what did I say that for? He got mad, rang the bell. Whenever he hit that bell, that means perform a line, Then he'd run us through. And so I said, after I went through that, I said, I ain't have to take this scrap. I said, I'm leaving here. So, as I said before, Howard Fagans and Ed Johnson were two of the fellows that steered me and said, don't leave. Don't let nobody run you out of your job. It's your job. Keep it.